We are the Guinea Pig Collective. All will be assimilated. Resistance is futile.
Searching for old treasures, blowing off the dust. Timeless stories and legendary characters. This is Talking Movies. Hey everybody, what's going on? And welcome back to another Talking Movies. Today's movie in question, written by Luciano Vincenzoni and Sergio Donati, and directed by Michael Anderson, 1977's Orca. And much in the way that Jaws was based off a novel, this one was also based off a novel by Arthur Herzog and was simply titled Orca. This was first published in November 5th of 1975. When this film came out in 1977, there were, of course, a few changes made, notably the character of Nolan. However, most of the main story plot remained the same. And the cast included Richard Harris as Captain Nolan, Charlotte Rampling as Rachel Bedford, Will Sampson as Jacob Umlick, Bo Derek as Annie, Keenan Wynn as Novak, Robert Carradine as Ken, Scott Walker as Al Swain, Peter Houden as Paul, Wayne Heffey as Priest, and of course other supporting cast and characters to flesh out the background and the bulk of this story. Orca, the killer whale, is one of the most intelligent creatures in the universe. Incredibly, he is the only animal other than man who kills for revenge. He has one mate, and if she is harmed by man, he will hunt down that person with a relentless, terrible vengeance across seas, across time, across all obstacles. After witnessing his mate and child's death from Nolan's hands, Orca, the killer whale, goes on a rampage in the fisherman's harbor. Under the villagers' pressure, Nolan, Rachel, and an Indian sail after the great beast, who will bring them on his own turf. The premise behind this film is very much akin to that of Moby Dick, with, of course, some of that terror-driven fear that works so well in Jaws included. Now, while this was not Jaws on any level, I thought it was still a very enjoyable film. It is what it is. Not every movie is going to hit the top marks. Now, the budget for this film was about $6 million, and the box office take was $14.72 million. So it did make money, however, it was not a blockbuster by any means. So some of the standout things in this movie is Richard Harris, who was 46 at the time. He performed all of his own stunts, and he was nearly killed on several occasions. And the main orcas used for filming were trained animals from Marine Land of the Pacific and Marine World Africa, Six Flags Discovery Kingdom, though artificial whales of rubber were also used. These models were so lifelike, animal rights activists blocked trucks delivering the animatronic whales to the set, thinking real whales were in them. Vincenzoni was first assigned to give the film a head start after being called by Dino De Laurentiis in the middle of the night in 1975, upon admitting that he had watched Jaws. Vincenzoni was instructed by De Laurentiis to find a fish tougher and more terrible than a great white. Having had little interest in sea life beforehand, Vincenzoni was directed to killer whales by his brother Adriano, who had a personal interest in zoology. And a bit of a slap to the face, the source novelist Arthur Herzog was not credited for his source Orca novel. And of course, if you remember Jaws, you will also remember that the Orca was also the name of Quint's fishing boat from Jaws. The Orca vessel in that movie was named after the only natural enemy of the great white shark. And Ken, Robert Carradine's death, is a bit ironic in a way because he is killed by the killer whale that saved him at the beginning from the great white shark. And although mostly unseen near the end, the whale does indeed die by swimming underneath the Arctic ice. And this movie, contrary to other people's opinions, was the debut theatrical feature film for Bo Derek. And for the goofs. So the sounds played and recorded through the hydrophone are recordings of humpback whale calls, not orca calls. When Nolan yells for the ship to go hard to port, he points to his right, which would be starboard. And in one scene, the whale is nicked by a harpoon, yet is uninjured in several subsequent scenes. Since trained killer whales were used in many of these scenes, some of the underwater close-ups will show the orcas with a collapsed dorsal fin, but all the shots on the surface show fully erect dorsal fins. The film is set in Newfoundland, Canada, but in some scenes the main character's fishing vessel flies the US flag. And while the main premise of this movie pits orcas as being monogamous, this is actually not true. Males will travel with pods, and females from other pods will mate with those males to lessen the chance of inbreeding. And whales and dolphins don't breathe automatically like humans do. They sleep with half of their brain at a time because they need to come to the surface to breathe. If someone really tranquilized an orca like Nolan did with the needle and the harpoon, both halves of its brain would be asleep at the same time and it would stop breathing and drown. And in some of the shots of the male killer whale jumping out of the water, you can tell that it's a female killer whale because of its hook-shaped fin. Anyway, guys, that's all I have on this one. Have you ever heard of this movie? Have you seen this movie? Are you perchance going to watch this movie? Let me know what you think in the comments down below. And as always, if you enjoyed what you've seen and what you heard, go ahead and destroy that like button for me. And if you are new to the channel, welcome. I hope you've enjoyed yourself, and I hope that you will consider subscribing. And I will catch you all next time. Later, y'all.